Oh, gah. Josh's Hoarder Corner, Book Talk, Episode 3. Let's get into it.
Josh's Hoarder Corner.
That's me. And yes, there will be spoilers. All right, not long ago, I was out in Lakewood, Ohio, getting my hair did at the Regal Beagle by Angel Moore. Highly recommend if you are in this area and need a haircut, that's who you go to. And then I always try to go to Good Kind Coffee when I'm out there. And last time I went through, I realized there's a bookstore there that I've never investigated. I've never stepped foot into. And this time, I made it a point to go in there. And it was called Book Brothers Logo. Now, I loved this shop. It's awesome. I was looking around and I grabbed 4 or 5 books, one of them being 1970 James Dickey Deliverance. Now, this is James Dickey's first novel. I have not read anything else from him, and I'm not going to. He is a poet, novelist, critic, and lecturer, and boy oh boy, it shows in this book. James Dickey was born back there in 1923. He passed away in 1997. Our old boy, James Dickey. And this was his first book. Now, when I say I won't read anything else from him, it is because he has a very interesting writing style that is very long winded, very unnecessary, and very dull. Now, I'm being harsh, perhaps, but this was not my favorite book. Um, I managed to get through it. The interesting thing is the way that this book is broken out, you have before September 14th, September 15th, September 16th, and after. Uh, I was hoping to have this done on September 16th because I thought that'd be funny, but instead I had it done after. Today is September 18th. I don't know when this will go live. The story obviously was turned into a movie. Dueling Banjos comes to mind. The story and the movie follow along pretty well. I really enjoyed the movie, but the story itself was very dry. It was so fucking dry. And I took some notes here. So what this book is, it's the story of Lewis, Drew, Ed, and Bobby. They decide they're going to go on a canoeing adventure. There's some city folk who love going out into the wilderness. Ed is the narrator throughout the story. Him and Lewis have this more outdoorsy kind of friendship. Bobby and Drew are kind of just along for the ride. Drew is the one who brings his guitar and he gets to play a song with a little boy at a gas station in middle of nowhere, Georgia. Now, the song referenced in here, it wasn't Dueling Banjos. I don't remember what it was, to be honest with you. But once they get on the water, it's a long story of the progress they make until finally something happens. There's 2 canoes. They get separated at one point after some waves. And Ed and Bobby end up kind of stranded, wondering where Lewis and Drew are and if they'll catch up to them. Now, as Ed and Bobby are stranded, 2 folks from that area, from that region of Georgia, stumble across them and realize it's playtime. They have their victims there for them, and I mean, shit goes down. It's insane. It's written well in a way that doesn't go into so much detail it scars you, but the imagery that Dickey puts into it, you know what's happening. Now, Ed is witnessing these acts being performed upon Bobby, and he knows his time's coming. But as things start to progress and lead to Ed being forced to open wide for a stranger, the others from their group come through and they cease the attack. They are able to Lewis shoots one of them with a bow and arrow and save the day basically. The problem then comes, well, what do we do now? We're in the middle of the woods. We're on this river that there's no easy way in or out of, and we just killed a man. What do we do? Do we want to take the body back with us and explain to the world what happened to Bobby, who is now emotionally scarred and can't sit down comfortably? Or what are we going to do? And they decide that they're going to bury the body and never speak of this again. When they get back on the river after burying the body, shit is a little tense. They start down the river once again, and they hit some rapids, and everything goes haywire. They lose the one canoe. The bodies are flying all over the place, and when they come back to it, they assume the story is that someone shot at them, and they shot Drew and killed him. Drew is the one who is like, "We can't do this. We have to be honest and take this man back. We can't get away with murder like this." Well, Drew apparently gets shot. Once they Lewis is hurt, Drew's been shot, Bobby is scarred for life. Ed is the only one who can really come out the hero and stand up for them all. He decides they all have in their mind that the other man who attacked them earlier on is after them now, and he's going to be waiting for them downriver to shoot them. So Ed goes hunting. And Ed does find a gentleman downriver, and he does stop him from shooting the surviving members of their little excursion. But when he looks at the body, he sees that this one has teeth, whereas the guy back before didn't. Now, they're dentures, so maybe he just put them in. But James Dickey, in my opinion, does an interesting job of painting this picture of, did we get the right person? So they have to get rid of the body. They have to get rid of Drew's body as well, so they can fabricate this story of what happened to them while they were on the river. And that's where it starts to get kind of intense. Lewis is hurt real bad. They finally make it to an area where they can see a bridge and they know a town can't be too far, and they go get help. The police department that they encounter is helpful, but the deputy sheriff, his sister, has informed him that her brother went out, or that her husband went out and is missing. So the deputy sheriff's brother-in-law, we assume, is one of the people who attacked these men on their excursion, who is now dead. And he doesn't buy their story. In the end, they're able to pack up after their little hospital stay and go home and live with these actions for the rest of their lives. That's the big thing. Bobby kind of drifts away from the friend group. They see him in passing every now and then. Ed just wants life to go back to normal, but they have to focus on getting back to that normal. Now, that is a very spoiler synopsis of what happened. I did have a passage I wanted to read to you, 227 here. And this will give you an understanding of how this book's written, how the writing goes from Mr. Dickey here. And I could not leave off worrying about the details of the story we had told and what the ramifications of any one of them might be. I was sure about Lewis, as sure of him as I was of myself, but who could be that sure of either, of any man? But I was not sure of Bobby. He drank an awful lot, and a person will say, a lot of times, exactly the most perverse and self-incriminating thing he can think of when he is drunk enough, and when he is like Bobby. But what would keep his mouth shut about the truth was himself kneeling over the log with a shotgun in his head, howling and bawling and kicking his feet like a little boy. He wouldn't want anybody to know that, no matter what. No matter how drunk he was. No. He would stay with my version of things. Because this story, if it gets out, everyone's going to know what happened to Bobby. And the masculinity of the 70s, that's not something that anybody would want to know about them. I mean, even today, people wouldn't want to know that story to get out about them. The movie came out in 1972. It was directed and produced by John Borman. And it starred John Vaught, Burt Reynolds, Ned Beatty, and Ronnie Cox. So A-list actors right there. Burt Reynolds is a fabulous actor, star. Dude's got mustache. And it's funny because they call him Ape Man a lot in the book. Ed is who Burt played because of how hairy he was. And Burt Reynolds is kind of that Ape Man. Book versus movie. I don't know how often I'll say this. The movie wins. Go watch the movie. It is a fantastic, fantastic movie. The book isn't bad if you could find a Cliff Notes version of it. Because, boy, oh boy, Mr. Dickey, you, sir, have a way with words. in a way that just doesn't really align well with my reading style. And that's not to say it's bad. It's just my personal opinion. That's the thing that I really want people to understand. I'm not saying someone is bad through and through, or a work of art they've done is bad through and through. I'm saying it's just not to my liking. It's my personal opinion. I hope that these thoughts that I share with you can help you in your journey of reading, and maybe you'll agree with me, but I'm always down for a conversation or a debate about these thoughts. So that means if you've read this and you want to talk about it, hit me up on my socials. If you want to go live and have a discussion face to face with it, absolutely we can. That could be a lot of fun. What book am I going to read next? I'm not sure yet, actually. I have a lot on my read this now stack that I need to go with. Jordan Peele's collection of short stories, I'm really interested in picking that one up, but I'm not sure yet what we're going to read next. So you just have to keep an eye on the socials for when episode 4 is going to come out. Read a book. Read a book that has a movie adaptation because it's so much fun to compare the two. Let me know about what you're reading. Send me your recommendations. And until next time, don't be a butthole.
Do 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 do.